Hi, welcome to the Healing Mamas. I am Sharon Showmaker, and this is Brittney Hobbs. And Brittney right now has a little frolic in her throat. Um, she's been nursing herself back to full radiant health, and sometime this week her voice has left the building, left the temple. And we talked about how there are some gifts in that when it comes to motherhood and to ourselves as well. But yeah, she sounds a little different today. So if she's not talking as much, or she has a little cough or something, it's just because she's tending to herself and on the mend. So yeah, we just dropped in with ourselves and slowed things down a little bit. And I want to invite you all to do the same. Our intention here is to come together as mamas who are on a healing path and share any wisdom or messages that we've learned from our own experiences, share things that we are ruminating on or things that we're struggling with, and create a community and conversation around all the parts and pieces that come up as a mama on a healing journey who is raising children outside of the mainstream way of doing things. And so I want to invite you just to be here with us fully, just to drop in this space and do yourself a favor to set things aside for a minute. I'm going to invite you to light a candle with us, just to set the intention for creating this sacred space. And grab yourself a cup of tea or something, just to, again, set the intention and make this space that we're sharing together really special and nourishing. And as we come together, I just want to invite you to follow your breath into your body. Allow it to just relax your shoulders. With the exhale, just allow any tension or any thoughts or any worries that you've been carrying with you throughout the day to just let them drift aside. Let them just set them down for this moment so that you can be fully present and can receive the wisdom and the gifts that you need at this moment to move forward with. Giving thanks for this beautiful body that just supports us all day long, our breath, our heart, our legs, our feet, our seat, all the things that we kind of unconsciously take for granted sometimes, and just to be present and be here in our own bodies in this space. And whenever you're ready, just open your eyes and maybe look out the window, look at a corner in the room or something that is special to you. Try to avoid maybe the messy table or the dishes that need to get done. And just, come back into the space with us. And before we hopped on the call, the reason we pushed record because Brittney was beginning to share something with me regarding a comment that someone had left on our YouTube page. And we were going to have the conversation, but knowing that her voice is a little subpar right now, we decided to just push record and have what she was sharing be part of this conversation. And in summary, someone was asking if if it's even possible to get to like a fully healed state and is this like kind of chasing perfectionism, or has it become something that maybe we're distracting ourselves with? And Brittney was kind of adding to the conversation and unpacking a little bit. So I just wanted to start that off. And if you want to pick back up where you left off, I'd love to hear what you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for that grounding and that slowing down. That always feels really nice. Yeah, and bear with me with my voice. I don't know how long it will last because I haven't talked in 2 days. So I was talking about, our body as a temple. And a lot of times it doesn't feel like a temple in modern times because maybe it's full of so much garbage. And when I say garbage, I'm meaning toxicities and paradigms of being in the external world and focusing on how we look and how we fit in, and how all of these outside things, and we've become really numb to what's going on in our inner world. We're hyper aware of what's going on in our external world, and we're really numb or deaf to all the different things going on in our internal world. And so to me, I was talking about how I think the word healed or healing has taken on a lot of different connotations, and not all of them good ones. But what I think about when we talk about healing or being the healing mamas or on a healing journey is that we're becoming more and more conscious or more and more aware of what's going on in our internal world so that we can start to clear out and clean up what has been stuck, stagnant, trapped, repressed in this internal world of ours, so that it feels clearer and more spacious, and so that we can be more present. And an example of this morning is my son decided to send a football down our spiral staircase, and it landed in his full bowl of oatmeal and flipped it upside down and threw the oatmeal everywhere. And it startled my daughter, and her first response was, to kind of yell at him or to have, a more aggressive voice. But when she had a moment, she's like, I didn't mean to yell at him. He's like, and I was like, I know you're not angry, right? You were startled and surprised. But that, there's something underneath that too, right? Like her first reaction wasn't something from a place of love and curiosity. It was this like, bah! Reaction. And so I just look at that as an example, as to be healed or to be more conscious and aware, we're going to know what's triggering certain responses, or we might get to a place where we don't have a quote unquote triggered response to something, right? We're acting from a place of kind of awareness and self-reflection, and when we're not having these kind of automatic, unconscious responses to something happening outside of us.
Yeah, I love that. And I try to like see it as like reactive versus responsive. So like oftentimes like if I'm not in a steady, balanced, centered space, or if my nervous system is rattled, or if one of my kids get hurt and I'm like instantly like in that reactive space versus when I'm able to push the pause button and slow things down a little bit, I can be responsive, and which comes from a very conscious, intentional place, knowing, as opposed to like the chain reaction, like it's like a response, and I'm choosing to respond this way because I'm wanting to like and then I'm just imagining as you respond, like there's ripples and there's going to be things that unfold a certain way when you're choosing to be responsive versus like the domino effect of like reacting, and then all of like the reactions that come from that space.
And I also had another mama that I was talking to that was asking questions regarding our first video of carrying a lot of heavy burden or mama shame, right? Around, how long the healing process takes, or is there a point where you've experienced so much trauma that you can't heal, and just being so exhausted from constantly being in this fight or flight space. And I think having a lot of compassion for ourselves as we move forward. We all have our own paths. They all have their own challenges, and all of our responses have served us at one time or another. And when they're done serving us and we have gotten to a space where something's ready to be cleared, it will be. But again, we all have our own variations in significance and, degrees of what needs to kind of be cleared out. And it makes me think of that. I was trying to share that story that I still don't know the origins of, right? With that golden statue
Oh, yeah.
in this town that got hidden away when they were going to be raided because they wanted to keep it safe. But then it got lost under all of these layers of dirt and mud. And years and years, and possibly even centuries later, it was discovered that there was actually gold underneath this like huge dirt mound. And it was this beautiful golden statue. And we all have different depths of what that mud is that's covering up our authenticity and our true self. And there's no, I think we need to let go of the idea of exactly how long the getting to the gold takes or what that looks like, because it might look really messy for some people. It's going to look messy for all of us, but others might view their journey as more messy than others. And I think some of us just hide it better or, put up a better front to the world. But I think we all have our own messiness going on along our process, right?
For sure. Oh, and those pretty picture perfect Instagram boxes make it feel like everyone else has their stuff together while you're over here just healing. And yeah, I like to remind myself that like it took me 44 years of like non-self stories and templates and systems and patterns to like get me to where I am right now. And I've been consciously choosing to be more intentional with my life for maybe 12 years or so. And I'm still nowhere near like healed, like there's still so many areas of my life that I'm wanting to continue to grow in. And I guess that's where the balance is like not striving for perfectionism at all, but wanting to remove all those different layers so that at the whatever part in the journey, I'm doing my best to access like that core authentic original blueprint that I was coded with that's been like retemplated over so many times. And when you said something about the temple earlier before we pushed pause, I was like, well, that would make a really good like offering, like retemplating the temple, like to just like clear out all of those stories and all of those patterns and habits and traumas and get back to the truth that like just like a seed, we were all put in this experience on this journey with all of the information that we needed in order to follow our own unique path. And the environment and the culture and so many things were not conducive to us staying and thriving as that little seed that we were intended to like grow from.
Yeah. So letting go of the guilt that anything is your fault, right? There are things that we obviously own up to, but knowing that we're healing from things that were a lot of times outside of our hands or that were a part of our learning journey that are making up who we are now. And I just want to add, I still struggle with trying to let go of perfectionism. So that's a constant thing on my radar is, that I can't be perfect. And it's something that I need to let go of striving for. And I've come a long ways in that, but it still creeps in. So it's a balance for me of trying to focus on, not reaching this quote unquote perfect state because it really doesn't exist, and trying to focus more on that consciousness and that awareness and that being so in tune with myself that I feel something rising up before it turns into this big thing, right? And that I practice that step of slowing down and pausing so that I can be like, okay, what am I feeling starting to bubble up here, and getting this really deep curiosity about myself and my inner world, which is a part of what we're starting to create to share with the world.
Yeah. And I'm an inner, like a recovering perfectionist as well. And I find that, yeah, just trying to hold that balance of like what I'm striving for, like knowing that I'm not striving for perfection, but that there is like a more ideal or there is a state of well-being that is going to serve us the best. Like, and so balancing that, and I find it with, when I'm in creating things in Canva, like my eye just sees that like there's something should just move and be tweaked. And I'm not striving for perfectionism. I can just see an adjustment that would fit or look better. And I guess that's like a metaphor for life, is like, I see where I want to go. Like I'm not there yet. It's a ever changing, evolving, like where I am like going, the spaciousness to understand that's like a moving target, right? The more information I gain, the things that unfold, like I'm constantly, and I don't want to use the word chasing or even striving, but that there is a state of being and wellness and a way of feeling that I want to fully embody. And the way I'm designed ever since this awakening or being more conscious or intentional ever since that has happened, like I can't set it down. Like I can't unsee it. I can't, it's painful to not continue to work towards that. And so it's in that realm, it's not perfection, but there is an ideal state that I want to access. And so continuing to move into that destination, knowing that the journey is all, cliche, it's all about the journey, not the destination. But, like this journey does have like a vision attached to it, a calling attached to it.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I've had points in time, and I've heard other mamas talk about it too, of needing to take a break from the healing journey, and frequently in terms of referencing like a lot of self-help books or self-help things. And when I reflect on that for myself, what I notice is that I'm responding, or I'm approaching that healing path from I want to fix this perspective, instead of really focusing on, I want to really tune into, how do I love myself more? How do I have and hold more compassion for myself, to hold all these different wounded aspects or these old programs that don't serve me? And so I think there's a huge difference in how we feel, and not getting burnt out on it if we're coming from this place and we're able to along the way fill up this self-love, self-compassion bucket, so to speak, versus going in there with our toolbox and being Miss Fix-It.
Yeah.
Right, that gets really exhausting when we're looking at ourselves as this damaged, broken creature, versus being the mamas that we are, and thinking about how we hold space and love for our children or our pets, right? We have a lot of compassion and tenderness for them. And how do we start to reparent ourselves, or hold that space for ourselves, that tenderness and that compassion of, oh, I see that you were hurt at this time. And how can I hold you and just love you, not fix you, but just hold that space. And with that allows this reintegration, or this return, that aspect returning to wholeness with a lot more grace and peace as opposed to trying to like force it into this peg hole to shove it back inside so that we're that way, right? That sounds a lot more tedious and hard.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's like almost like a shift in lens, like a lot of healing and self-help and all of that has been skewed to be like consumption and like sourcing our healing from external places, where that is what like I've definitely reached times where I'm like, I just have to like I can't consume anything else. Like I literally can't. But my healing journey doesn't stop. Like it's the consumption that I want to cease, because that becomes heavier, and that does become like I'm like holding the whip, and I am like, being really hard on myself. And I don't feel that same energy when we're talking about like dropping into our body, when we're talking about holding compassion for ourselves, when it's a place of self-love, because if nourishing ourselves is an aspect of self-love, if I were to drop that, be like, I can't do the healing anymore, and I would just like shift from eating nourishing and like filling myself with things that I know are life-giving and lift me up. If I were to set that down and then start eating or consuming things that make me feel worse or make me like, I think I can't drop that part of the healing. Like I know what I know as far as like what my body needs and how it responds to things. And so yeah, and I guess as I say that, there are a lot of people that have a really imbalance with how to nourish themselves. And there's so many external voices of what to eat and how to eat and what to combine and what not. And it highlights, and like I'm getting a hit right now as far as like that intuitive eating, like really tuning into our bodies and ourselves and figuring out what do we need. So again, it's that lens of like healing from a state of consumption and an external like source of healing versus like shifting to the internal intuitive feels so much different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm right there with you. The consumption piece is what's always exhausted me, but
Yeah,
choosing how I treat my body is something that is a constant for me. And yeah, I got trapped in that paradigm of what's the best, most optimal way to feed my body, but listening to what everybody else was saying out there. And what I discovered is that there are studies that support every different way of eating. And me coming from the clinical world, I have read all the studies. and what I discovered is that none of those labels fit me, right? Whether it's being vegan or vegetarian or paleo or, the list goes on. And going, yeah, to that intuitive sense, and what I need every day varies. One day I might eat more plant-based because that's what feels right in my body, and another day I might have more dense, heavy foods, and that might be animal based. And I kind of just flex and go with what I feel I need in my cells or in my body to feel nourishing in that day. And that was a whole journey for me to come back to, okay, clear out what everybody else is saying out there of what's best for all of us, and go back to what feels good and nourishing and comforting and like what I need. And again, that fluctuates, and that was a whole journey. And it'll still continue to evolve, but I feel like I'm on a much, much better path by listening to what is coming from inside rather than trying to intellectually figure it out and then force it onto myself because of what others have said.
yeah. I feel like we could have multiple episodes and conversations about just like the food choices and things like that, and then honoring and teaching and learning, really actually learning how to listen to our body when it comes to like what it needs and what it's going to serve. taking that information that we're shedding and integrating a new way, passing that down to our children and incorporating that into our families, and knowing that everybody's bodies do need different things at different times. And so like just balancing that little sphere, that ball of motherhood and of human existence it's a lot. Just for that alone would you could research it endlessly. You could just guilt yourself to oblivion with like trying to figure it all out. And yeah, I guess that's why it's just so important to come at everything with a sense of compassion and grace, openness, and like really like valuing that every human is different, and that again, it's the journey of each person figuring out what they need, and us embodying that so that our children start operating from that place as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I could go on and on about that topic as well. It's been a big passion of mine for several years, and and so I'm sure we will.
Yes, stay tuned. We'll pick that ball up at some point later on. But I think the what we have been speaking on. So the Healing Mamas, as a conversation and a community and a space to share was what the intention was. And then as we began to just actually take action and be who we want to be in this realm of entrepreneurship and following and picking up this ball, of like there's for myself, there's a vision that I hold for my journey to be able to earn and fund my life doing following this calling of being true to myself and putting my gifts into the world. And so as we joined forces and pushed record and started the process, things have just been coming to both of us in a really divine and magical and synchronistic way. And so it wasn't too much after pushing our record for our first Friday. We both dropped into another call over the weekend, and I think come Sunday or Monday we were like, so I've got this idea, I feel like we can do so much more, or there's other things that are inviting us to step into them, and so with that we began holding space and setting intention that whatever was meant to come through and pour through us to make space for it. And boy, has it found space within both of us, huh?
It has, and it's really beautiful watching it take shape, right? And and I'm really enjoying the co-creation piece. And you, and I've told you, are the master of Canva. So everything that you're creating visually for this creation that we're pulling together is incredible. And I can't wait for other people to witness it. But yeah, the co-creation piece of how we're going to dive in and hold this space and the journey that we're going to take is really exciting, and I'm excited to go on it. I can't wait for the container to open up and for all of us to be in that energy. And it's all about what we've been talking about today, is cultivating that presence and that slowness, and really deepening that process of getting to know ourselves at these different layers of what makes us who we are.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that you kind of went as far as the excitement of us being in our own container, because so many people have spoken to when you're putting gifts or you're like, what do you need? Like, what do I need at this moment? Like, create from that space of your own needs, because like what's happening individually is often happening in the collective. And so as I'm like, again, that I've spent so much time consuming information and researching and finding ways to resource myself. And I've done a pretty good job of like integrating on some level, but there's still like rituals and routines and rhythms and practices that I would love to drop into on a even deeper level, so that I can continue to support myself and like playful, embodied, and not like, oh, I have to do this thing in the morning, every morning I have to do this, but it becomes something that I make space for, and I know it's going to fill me up and light me up, but I'm not always doing it. So I want to create something that is going to support me, along with being in community and sisterhood, for accountability and conversation and motivation and support and celebrating and cheering on. And those are the things that I could personally use on my journey of like taking everything that I've consumed for years and really, like you said, shedding even more, so that the practices can drop me even deeper into my body and awareness and an understanding of all the layers and all the parts of myself.
Yeah, and circling back to the community aspect also is that often deepens and quickens our healing process also, right? Because what one person or sister is going through, we might not have reached that point or opened our awareness to that point, but that kind of triggers this opening, and then that comes up to be healed. And so we, and being in community and sharing the space together and sharing our experiences, it allows for multiple aspects that are ready to rise up and be cleared that much quicker, rather than going one by one and kind of sludging through it on our own sometimes, right? Or even getting stuck in a certain way of thinking, but somebody else comes along and shares, and it shifts our perspective just enough that it allows that clearing to move through a lot easier, and it gets unhinged or uncaught from some place within us, and allows it to vacate or to reintegrate or whatever it needs to do at that time.
Yeah, and it allows us to see that we're not alone in our struggles. So many times there's shame that is blanketed over so many parts of our story, because we can't imagine that anybody else would understand. And I know when we were in that year-long program together, just that like that story sharing, that being witnessed, that being seen. And the other part is, like you were saying, like how when one sister shares and whatever is alive and comes up allows us to look at that piece, it unfolds really organically, where that like healing, like the negative connotation of healing and perfection is tied to it, is like, if I were to like gut myself and just look at all the areas that I need healing in, where do you even start? Like, how many things do I actually need tending? How many things are so in my subconscious that aren't even ready to be seen, that I don't even have access to? And then it can be either completely overwhelming, putting you in like an urgent fight or flight. I guess, yeah, that's what it triggers. It's either like you go into freeze mode and you do nothing. You go into like, the flight panic mode, and you just start like coming at yourself in a really harsh, non-gentle way. And yeah, to just have it, or you leave, exactly, like, see that? Yeah, I can't deal with this, but like to have it organically unfold in a container, it just is so supportive for all of those reasons. The witnessing, the knowing that you're not alone, just the natural invitation to hold a mirror to that one little piece of ourselves that can be examined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we want to share the name, or what details do we want to share today?
I know. Well, I would love, like, I mean, I just think the funnest part is like how things just have like unfolded again for us, where they just have, we'll talk and we'll go one direction. I mean, gosh, this has been so healing, I think, for both of us too, and using our voices and saying, like, so I was looking at this and I was thinking that that might not be the best direction, and to like have like be witnessed in your like using our voices and saying like, oh no, that makes complete sense, I was feeling that way too. So like at first we kind of unpack like a full year's journey, and it sounded amazing, but it was also feeling rushed and not spacious, and neither of us want that. Like whatever we're creating, we wanted it to feel spacious, and we wanted it to feel nourishing, and we wanted it to fill our cups, not leave us like panic mode, depleted, overwhelmed. And so like after stepping back a little bit with that new sense of clarity, then we've kind of and at first it was like trying to keep up with all the seasons and the festivals and all the like, you know, holidays. And then when we stepped back a little bit, it felt really good to like really just dial into each of the seasons, like the winter solstice and the spring equinox and the summer solstice and the autumn equinox, and to work within that cycle that is part of what we move through life in. So that was really fun to just again get the idea, try to go with it, and then be okay to say, okay, let's tweak this a little bit. What would actually serve us? What would serve the other mamas and women who would be joining us on this ride? So we've slowed things down, and I think we've now like settled on it, just focusing on like a winter cycle, which is all about restoring and slowing down and being in that inward kind of introspective place of it, going into like our roots. And so many of us are on a mission to be rising up to the highest version of ourselves. We came up with the name, well, we came up with a couple names, and again, it's fun and it's evolved. But right now we have settled on Rising Up Rooted. And do you want to talk about the little play on words there that came to you as well?
So, excuse me. So rising up rooted. One thing is that, you know, we're looking up as rising up. Yeah. Getting more in touch with, things going on within us, and looking at even how the chakras play into it, right? Starting at our root and making sure that that's really strong. And how does what's going on in our root impact all the rest of us? And then as we get that foundation built, then we keep rising up, and what that kind of brings into this, bringing consciousness and awareness or healing to our journey. And then also, you know, looking at the phrase uprooted, right? Is what along the process are we uprooting? What no longer has a place left in our body, or what has served its purpose, or what never served its purpose and just needs to be uprooted and cleared out of our system for good. So it's kind of all encompassing. We're strengthening our roots and digging them deeper and creating more safety and security. And we're rising up so that we can bring our consciousness level and our awareness up and expand it, become more expansive. And then we're clearing out and uprooting all that doesn't serve us.
I love that. No, that's so wonderful. Like just to move through life, like feeling rooted in our values and our like what is authentic to us, like uprooting the parts that don't serve us, and really like anchoring in and finding nourishment and nutrients and like balance and stability from that like grounded, centered like state of being. So yeah, so rising up rooted. And then along the process of us rising up rooted, there will be some uprooting that is going on because there many of us are walking through life with these false templates that aren't serving us, that need to just be pulled away so that we can like just really be on the journey back to our whole and connected self, authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think my voice is reaching its end.
I love it. We've said enough symbolically, but Brittney has spoken or not spoken. But yeah, so we're really excited. We've been again, the images and the creative aspect of what is going to be included, the mapping out the schedule, what is going to be most supportive to us and to the others that are going to be coming along for this journey and this ride. It feels really good and spacious. We're so excited on so many different levels. And yeah, we'll, as we kind of put the formalities together to actually be able to introduce it and to lay it out a little bit, we would, I guess we just want to invite you to stay tuned. You can find us over on Instagram at thehealingmamas. And if you just want to either DM us or follow us or stay tuned here, subscribe, always feels like I'm like, at some point I get something, I'd be like, click the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up down below. It feels so much better to do when I'm with someone else. Like, but yeah, so just stay tuned because we're really excited, and it's really this calling, this offering, it truly has a life of its own. It's literally, we're breathing life into it and it's breathing life into us on so many levels. And so we're excited to get like the formalities done. That said, we are going to be offering 2 free join us, a new moon ceremony and also a full moon ceremony for that are going to be coming up. I think the new moon is on Monday, and then in 2 weeks from then, there'll be another full moon ceremony that we'll be offering, and we would love for you to come and join us, share space with us, set intentions, hold space for what needs to shed, what needs to be uprooted, what do you want to anchor deeper into, because I'm not feeling it because I'm in Costa Rica, but many are beginning to feel the cooling down of the earth and her cycles and the hunkering down. And with that, we're moving into a season of less light. And with that, like that darkness and the lack of sun and the weather, like there's a lot of people that experience that seasonal depression or just need that like need a hearth to gather around, right? So like that is our intention for the next 2 moon cycles, so that we can just get to know you all, get to know who's in our field and in our space right now, and how we can serve you and what you all need. And anything else that you want to share? I joke she could like type it, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna work, so I think I'm done.
All right, so send Brittney lots of love, and that her voice returns. But again, we have noticed that there's a power in not having a voice when it comes to mothering, to speaking softly and saying little and moving from that space of like connecting on a less physical realm. And yeah, what a powerful place to play in. So with that said, I would love to invite you all to, oh, my air conditioner blew out. I'll pretend. Thank you for joining us. We want to go ahead and disconnect from any energies that we're here gathered around. Pull all parts of yourself back into you, and yeah, just be with us in this circle and continue to grow and evolve with us. And may the rest of your day or evening just be filled with a sense of deeper presence and deeper intention. And yeah, just sending you so much love.